Hi, this is Kevin from Let Me Tech You, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over how you can go forward with importing your current configuration into Terraform to be able to deploy to other Palo Alto firewalls in the field, whether it be the VM series or hardware enabled. So with this, what this is going to basically do is allow you to kind of go from a more manual approach to an automated approach. Now, if you see my other videos, you would have seen that I set these up manually, and that can take some time. Which also leads for room for error, since you have more of the human input put into being able to check and uncheck the wrong checkboxes there. So what I'm going to do is this runs inside my local EVNG environment, which I've showed some videos on this particular setup prior on my channel. So go ahead and like and subscribe if you can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another Palo Alto here. And I'm going to go ahead and before I get that started, I'm going to add a network to that. So that way I can connect to it remotely. And I'm going to put that on the management port. All right. So we got that there, so let's go ahead and get that started. And I'm doing this because it takes a little time for it to initially start up to where you can actually grab a DHCP address and be able to log in. So what I'm going to do is go into this Palo Alto here, which, let me see, its default password is just admin. And we can do a show interface management. Okay, so we got an IP address 192.168.1.131. 68.1.131. Oh, there's HTTPS. All right, and then we're gonna go admin again, and now we're logged in here. So that's just our warning message that we need to change that password. But since this is just a test environment, I'm not going to worry too much about that there. So getting started, what we're going to look at is some of the things that we got configured here. So if I look here, so I got two Ethernet interfaces configured. I have a zone, two zones configured. I got the default virtual router, which inside of there, I have static routes, or one static route, pointing to an outside IP address. So, and then inside, outside of that, I have some objects created. So inside IP, outside IP, and then I have some policy, one policy. Basically, that says I have a NAT policy that that's translating any inside source zone, anything from the inside zone to the outside zone to this destination interface, basically to translate it as the outside IP. Then I have a security policy, which we have the defaults, but then we also have one that we basically are allowing anything from the trusted inside zone to the untrusted outside zone for any application. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with networking, network interfaces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Terraform's website, and we're going to go to the registry and look for Palo Alto. So we want the PAN OS. And under the documentation there, we're going to look for interfaces. So as we can see here, we're not doing any sub interfaces. We're actually going to do an Ethernet interface. And this is the configuration that we need here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take this particular configuration, and I'm going to open up my Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to make a new folder here. So let's see. Run the code. Let's open up a new folder. And I'm gonna go code. Actually, let's go to Terraform. And let me see where I want to put this. Let's make a new folder called Automate Palo. And hit open. Now let's create a new file called main.tf. And I'm going to go ahead and place everything in here. Now, when you're working with Terraform, you know, you're going to have a couple things that you'll need to have specifically set up. Now, I already have this in another folder. So I have some there's some default stuff you need to be able to remotely automate and log into your Palo Alto to basically apply configs automatically. And let me add a folder to this particular setup here. So let me see if I can find where that's at here. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so I got my folder here. So this is just my Git repository. And inside the Terraform, let's actually open this integrated terminal. Let's just do a Git pull. Make sure we have... Oh, wait, so cd, so git pull, it's up to date. So let me see, I thought if I wasn't mistaken, yeah, here we go. So I'm going to take this here, because this is going to be the same. Not going to worry about that, so we're going to paste that in there. This is just saying this is where our source provider is going to come from. And then I am going to see if I have anything. Oh yeah, I'm going to take this and I'm going to create another called variable.tf. Now this is just going to be for my password to log in, and it's going to be admin. And let's go and let's just double check, make sure there's anything else here down in the, so this was one that I was setting up before, but basically this was just a generic, we didn't really go too deep into like all the other stuff, just interfaces, and then I believe we did like a little object here. So that's it. So now what we'll do is we'll just step by step go and grab all the default configs that we need and modify them to our liking. Now there are going to be things to where you can set it up to not have to duplicate your code. So for instance, let's say I need to make another interface. Instead of having to say copy and make another interface this way, we can do some type of like count method or for each loops, things like that. But we're going to keep it simple because you can always go back and refactor your code to make it better. And as long as you're not making any changes to the code that would affect your infrastructure, then when you do an apply or a plan, you should show that you're not making any changes. So if we're looking here, this is going to be, go back. So we got Ethernet 1. So we're going to call this Ethernet 1, Ethernet 2. So 1, 1, 1, 2. And they're layer 3s. And then let's see what IP addresses we had. So we actually, okay, so we use objects. So what we're going to need to do is create those objects as well. So if I go, I got 2 objects here, inside IP, inside, and then outside IP. So let's look for objects here. And we got an object. Okay, so this looks like what we need here. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to paste this twice again. Now again, we are duplicating some code here, but let's not worry about that here now. So outside IP. inside IP. And so our outside IP is going to be, let's just go double check, 1.1.1.2/24. So 1.1.1 2/24, and we're going to call the description. Let's see, do we put a description on this? Outside IP address. So outside IP address, and then probably for the other one, this is 192.168.1.2. Then inside IP, and then let's make sure we use the same description here as well. Copy that. So tags internal DMZ. So we don't have to, do we put any tags? So no tags. So we'll actually take the tags off. You can add tags later or whenever if you want. All right, there we go. Let's button that up a little bit. Okay, so we got our objects, and now, so we need to name these. So we're going to call this outside IP, inside IP. Okay. So now if we look at our interfaces, static IP is going to be, so now what we can do is we don't even have to actually name this. This is going to be, we can reference our objects that we have. So it's going to be, this is Ethernet 1. Let's go back to our network, Ethernet 1, and then for the comment, outside interface. And then let's see for our inside comment, inside IP. So it's a little different. And they're layer 3, so that's correct. So let's see what, so for static IPs, if we go back to Terraform and we look at the interface again, let's look for where it says static IPs. Actually, see where that's at here. So a list of static IP4 addresses set for this. So that's a list. Wonder if there's any particular way we have to put a list in if we're referencing the object. So let's try that. What we can do is take this out and we can go pan address object, and then we're going to go outside IP. And then for, actually we might need to still put that as a, okay, yeah, like that. And then, so basically what we're saying is, hey, we're not defining it there, but we can put it down. We can basically change this in one area without having to statically, put it on this argument. And that's one way to kind of variabilize things too. If you want to put these in variables, you could. That way you don't actually have to put the value directly in here and have to change it in multiple places. So this one is going to be, now we might still need the brackets, but I'm not sure too much on that. Let me go pan OS adric.inside IP. So if we air out, we're probably going to need, yeah, I don't think, let's just keep it like that. Let's keep it like that. So we're going to save that. And let's see what we're going to, and we want to connect to our new VM that we deployed, which is here. So I need to figure out what this IP address is. So so it's 1.145. So if we go to that 192.168, we shouldn't have any configuration deployed onto that. So admin. So everything should be cleared. Let's go ahead and clear out of that. Close this out. And as you can see, everything is empty. We should have our default policies, no NAT policies, everything like that. So now if I go, and so I got this saved. Let's go and let's minimize these here. So I need to define where this is getting pushed. So let me see where I put that at in the other one that I was working with. So host name, main firewall. Should be, oh, provider. Here we go. I need this block. So this is how we're going to connect. So I can minimize this again, go into my main.tf, and I'm just going to put this here. So we're basically saying this, our required providers is PAN-OS, and in the provider PAN-OS, here's the host name, 131, but we're going to actually switch this to 145. Username's password, variable.password is admin. And again, there's another way you can set this to not be set in the default by using like a TFR file. That way you don't have to store these anywhere if you're using version controlling like GitHub or anything like that. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's do let's try to plan and see what's going to happen if this was to run. So let's open up a terminal there. And we're just going to do a Terraform init. So that's going to initialize the provider, pull down any of the modules and things that are needed. And then we're going to run a Terraform plan. And let's see, inappropriate value for attributes to string required. So let's see where we at here. So I wonder if... See, the thing is, it's seeing it as a string, but I don't want a string. I want it to be able to take the object and apply it to the interface. So let's see where we can do that at here. List of static apertures set for this. So create. Should be IP4 mask. Nope. I don't see anything that references like. Let's try to save it and run and see what happens. Okay, so let's try this. So is it actually going to... So where's the interface? Yeah, so I don't think it's actually going to... I think it's going to actually type that in there, so then that's not what we want. So if we look, so let's see... Let me take a look here. Okay, so what we're going to do is keep that there, but first of all, let me get to our zones. So let's create some zones here first. So our zones, what's going to actually be applied to our interfaces. And your interface can only be a part of one zone. So we're going to have, if we go back to our Palo Alto that's already deployed, and we go to our zones here, we can see we got a trusted inside zone and an untrusted outside zone, and we can see which interfaces they're deployed to. So what I'm going to do is go here and let's look up zone, which we already have up here, and I'm going to take this here and copy it, and I'm going to paste that in there. And we're going to change this, so we're going to call this the trusted inside zone. So trusted zone, copy this again. And call this untrusted zone. And then name, let's go. Let's just copy this here. It's layer 3. And the Ethernet name is going to be PAN-OS Ethernet interface dot Ethernet 1 dot name. And same thing, or no, actually take this out. And then we don't have to worry about the exclude ACL, so we can take that out. And the user ID we can take out for now as well, because we're not setting this up to identify any users or anything as we're coming across those zones. Which you can do with like things like Active Directory and stuff like that when you integrate it all in. So this is going to be Ethernet 1, and this is going to be Ethernet 2. And if I'm not mistaken, actually, this should be 2, and then this is 1 on mine. It may be different on yours, but my untrusted zone, or my trusted zone, is Ethernet 2, and then my untrusted zone is Ethernet 1. So now we got that set up. So basically what this is saying, all right, so I have 2 zones, and one's applied to the outside interface, one's applied to the inside interface, and it's referencing the interfaces that we created here by using the resource name and then the name we gave it, and then it's doing dot name so that it can get the Ethernet 1/2, Ethernet 1/1. So now that that part's set, we can then go to our virtual routers. And we obviously by default have the default one set up, and that's the one we're going to be using. So let's go virtual router. So the default virtual router may be configured with this resource, however, will be not be deleted. So the resource has some overlap with the PAN-OS virtual router resource. If you want to use this resource with the other one, then make sure that the PAN-OS virtual router spec does not define the interfaces field. So let's see. We're going to do is look for how we can add an entry. So what we can do is probably take because it's already defined in there, so we can do, let's do this here. Virtual router, no. So we can go, let's copy this here. And we'll add this at the top. So PanOS virtual router, and then we'll just call it main. And then interfaces. We can actually look and see what arguments they have. So static distance. Looks like they're changing the static distance, but is this required? Default is 10. We're actually not going to change that. And let's call this default. And then interfaces. So 1, 1, 1, 2. So we can actually look and see so PanOS Ethernet interface. Let's change this here. Ethernet 1 and then Ethernet 2. So that's in a list there. So that's defining all the interfaces that will be associated with the virtual router, because you can have multiple virtual routers defined for different interfaces, and so you can only have the interfaces in one virtual router, and that's going to be so that you can define different routes and things like that depending on the type of traffic that's coming across. So let's see that, and then we do want to define a static route inside of there. So if we go back there, let's see. So we got PanOS virtual router entry. So let's see, we need to find where we can define the source and destination addresses. Now, it'd be nice if we could export it or import it out, but I'm not actually seeing, so we might need to do so this resource allows you to add, update, delete an interface in a virtual router. The resources has some overlap with it. If you want to use this. So as we can see, we're running into like a little problem where sometimes some providers don't give you the best examples of how to do something within their setup. So what I'm not seeing is where the entry goes to be able to say, if we look at our default route here, how to add this name, destination, type, value, admin distance, all this stuff here. But maybe I'm overlooking it here. So let's go back to virtual routers. So it says this resource allows you to add, update, delete virtual routers. But let's see if we see anything that's particular to adding or updating. The list of interfaces that should use the virtual router, static distance, distance, all these are distances. Symmetric return. So nothing in there particularly. Let's see. We already looked at that. And let me just take virtual out and just put router. Static route. So that might be what we're looking for. So there we go. So now I'm going to take this here and we are going to add this underneath, and I'm going to call this, oh, and then take it. Let me go back here, copy that, paste. And I'm just going to call this main. Now you might see I have these as main and main. If you use the same resource block, you have to have different names associated with these here. But since this is only going to be used here for my PAN-OS virtual router. I could change the name here to be something different to, make it that this is the default one or this is this specific router, just in case you add multiple ones. But you would just mainly want to make sure that those are all different names there. And if you do change this and you're referencing that anywhere else, you will need to update that as well. So the name for this virtual static route is going to be called default route. The virtual router is this here, so it's going to be main.name. Destination is going to be 1.1.1.1. Well, actually, destination 0.0.0 /0. So if you can't, so for any routes that it needs to get to that it can't find, go here. Slash. I have a slash on that? No. Actually, it's looking okay. So that there. So destination, next hop, and save. So now we can go ahead and cancel that here. So we basically, let's do a check down. So we got our virtual router. We got our static route. We have 2 zones, which we can go here and see. So trusted zone, untrusted zone. The interfaces associated with those zones. And then we have our interfaces. And the only thing I'm curious about is this here, is these objects being used, which I'll, double check once we run what it does. And then, so last but not least, our policies. So we're going to go and set up policy, look for our policy. And so PAN-OS security policy. So this resource will remove any security rule not defined in this resource. So let's look and see what example usage. So we only need one. So I'm just going to copy this here. And we're going to put it at the bottom. And as you can see, this starts to get pretty long. So one thing some people may want to do is actually break these out into different, I guess you could say files. So you can have like an objects.tf or a policies.tf, nat.tf, things that, so you don't have to then go scrunching through hundreds of lines and you can easily identify where stuff's at. So I'm going to go and look at this policy and say, okay, the name is going to allow internet traffic. Allow internet. And then the audit commit. Let's just open it up here. Oh, comment. So source zone is going to be the trusted inside zone. So it looks like this wants a list as well. So actually, let's look and see. If we go Terraform list. And see, let's see how they kind of sometimes, if they are able to use some type of something more dynamic than just inputting that in, which we might just be able to type in the source zone. So let me just put the name. What's it called? Source zone is going to be, look for my zone here. Okay, so source zone is going to be PAN-OS zone dot trusted zone. Okay, let's go. If I keep, okay. So let's see. Pan OS zone dot trusted zone. And if we look here in, let's see what it's asking for here. So a list of source zones. So we might need to put like dot name. So let's see. So source zone. Actually, you know what? I wonder if we actually put the name of what it is, if it will actually put that in there. Because now that I think about it, if you actually go back in here and you hit add, you're actually selecting one of the names. So it might actually, because like I can essentially type in here. So I bet you that's what it is. Let me hit cancel here. And if we go back and choose trusted inside zone. So let's go trusted inside zone. And then source address any. In destination zone, it's going to be untrusted outside zone. Everything else the same. So let's go ahead and save that. And now we basically, and then we have NAT. I'm not going to worry about that here right quick. Basically, well, you know what? Let's look for NAT here. Should be, I want to kind of get a baseline deployed just to see where we get any errors at. So let's run this initial one here. So let's do a Terraform plan. See if we have any errors that we need to fix. So everything seems to be fine for the plan, but now the real test comes when we do the apply. So Terraform, apply. And then we're gonna hit yes. And let's see what happens. So is an invalid IP address. So we need to, let's see where we're at here. Where did we have those at? Here. So we need the IPs of the objects. So I wonder if I do a dot value to get the value. But that's still going to be a list. So let's see here. I mean a string. I think that's going to pull the actual value here. Okay, same thing. So I wonder if let's look on those interfaces again and let's try and see. Actually, yeah, let's go here, network interfaces, IPv4, add, and then let's say 1.9. Yeah, I don't think that's. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think about it now that I think about it. It probably needs the name again because you can just type. Let me cancel this out. So for Ethernet 1.1, we just need outside -IP. So let's go Ethernet 1. We need outside -IP. I don't think that's going to take that either, because we tried putting a... Yeah, well, let's try it here. Let's say fig. This is actually looking... Let's see what happens. So that's outside IP. This is inside -IP. Save that. Terraform apply again. Okay. So that took. So now our security rules allow internet traffic from trust is not an allowed keyword. So PanOS security example, so 106. So allow internet traffic. So security rules allow internet traffic from trusted inside zone is not an allowed keyword. Security rules allow internet traffic from trust. Okay. So if we go back to, let's just make sure that we don't have any typos. Let's try to run it again. So sometimes if there's something missing before it runs, then it may not be able to apply it. So that still failed. Let's go and look at security policy and see if there's anything we're missing. So resource PanOS security policy example. This is saying, so a rule allow internet traffic to untrusted outside zone is not an allowed keyword. So let's log into the other Palo Alto and see what's going on. I think it was 145. So let's close this out. So the security zone for this is wrong, as we can see. So we need to go fix that. Ethernet 1.1. There we go. We need to untrusted outside zone. Save that and run it. So we see this zone's getting replaced, which is forces replacement, and that should fix our initial issue there. So it says untrusted zone network layer is already in use. So let's do this. Terraform destroy. So let's get rid of everything. So let's do a refresh. Make sure everything is gone. No objects. Let's actually delete those. Now you wouldn't do this in a production network. Obviously you would fix what that error was, but I want to start fresh here and just make sure we don't have anything going. Okay. So now let's go ahead and try to run this again. So Terraform plan. And let's do a Terraform apply. So trusted inside zone. Okay, let's look at see what happened this time here. So our policy didn't get created again. But let's make sure our interfaces are untrusted inside zone, trusted inside zone. And let's just make sure those are on the right. So trusted is 1/2, trusted 1/2, which is our inside, and then outside. And then for our policy, let's just make sure we have no typos there. So trusted, so source, trusted inside zone, untrusted outside zone. Yeah, so I'm a little confused on why okay, let's just read this. So security rules allow internet traffic from trusted inside zone is not an allowed keyword. Security rules allow internet traffic from trusted inside zone is not a valid reference. From is invalid. Okay, so why? Let's try and figure out why this is. So layer 3, inside IP, security zone is trusted. IPv4 is inside IP. That's all good. Outside, it's going to be untrusted outside zone. IPv4 is outside IP. Type, interface type is layer 3, which is good. Zones are good there. Correct interface, correct layer type. Let's see. Virtual routers, default, static route. That's good. So here's what I'll give you guys. If you can help define what I kind of missed there, maybe I'm overlooking what I should be looking, and drop me a comment down below. I'll give this another look through, but basically you kind of get the gist of what I kind of did here. Basically took everything that was existing from one Palo Alto and I created a baseline. And I can now take this same baseline and shoot it across multiple Palo Altos, whether it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, across multiple environments, states, lab environments, testing, all of the above. So it just makes it a lot easier to kind of, go through and deploy things that you would normally do by hand and it would take longer. Now you might look at this and say, well, this took long, but now anything going forward is essentially just a matter of pushing it, changing a couple variables, and pushing it out to a new device and sending it out. This could also be great in situations where you need to restore something and your backups could essentially be a part of this trivial run of deploying everything out to something that you can't get to remotely. So again, like I said, if you saw my video and you see the error that I might have missed, I'll also update the comments in the video if I find what I missed. I don't want to take too long on trying to troubleshoot that on the video. But again, if you can, check out my channel, Let Me Tech You. Again, also my YouTube or my blog, letmetechyou.com. We'll have a lot of different blog articles on tech, automation, and cloud. Again, like and subscribe, and thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you next time.